Hey, ya da da dum dum. Yeah, Laurie. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I love that song. Such a great
Oh,
tune.
I love that song too.
Well, this is my guest, Laurie Meacham, and I'm so looking forward to speaking to you today because you know I've been following you for a long time. You're
I know.
consistently, put stuff out, and there's just so much to talk about. It's
I'm so
exciting.
happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You're
I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
um, so I'm curious. I want to actually start talking about the Nashville Jazz Workshop
Okay.
because, yeah, I just because I can start wherever I want,
I know.
right?
It's your show.
Exactly. So, tell me how that came about. It's been going on. Is it over 20 years or something?
Yeah, we're almost at 25 now. So
Congratulations.
thanks. We started it kind of on a whim. I was
Yeah.
teaching at Belmont University, and I had some kids that would pull me aside and say, I just I want to learn how to read out of the real book, and just certain things they wanted to get, and they weren't, not that they weren't getting it from Belmont. It's just there wasn't anything that was really focused on that. So they would come into my office on their lunch hour, pay me whatever they could. Sometimes they just couldn't. They didn't have any money, and I would play with them, and I would show them how to what intros and endings and modulations and the feels of things. And about 3 months, 4 months in there, like all of them, all five of them said they had learned more from me in that 3 or 4 months than they had in 4 years.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, what's up? You know?
Yeah.
So that kind of promoted me to think a little differently. So we started with one class and 11 people, and a lot of my kids from Belmont came over and were in the first ensemble that I started. And it was called the Nashville Jazz Institute first. We were for profit, and we just kind of, you know, put a little ad in our scene, which is kind of like what's the one in LA, the LA Voice, or
Oh, there's the LA jazz scene,
what?
actually.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was something. It was
Yeah.
like it had everything in it about music, um, and that's how we started. And we attracted uh, some folks we didn't know. It wasn't just the students from Belmont, and one class led to two classes, to three, to four, then starting vocal classes. B.G. Adair was one of our first teachers that taught the Great American Songbook, and so she started with us, and she was my first board member, by the way.
Oh,
And then another teacher, Sandra Dudley. I don't know if you know her or not. She
no.
teaches at Belmont,
Oh,
so um, so that's how we kind of started, and that just led, to doing more and more.
um, was Belmont okay with all of this?
Uh, Belmont was fine. I mean, there was. I loved being able to help the kids, and I was kind of at a younger age. I was closer to their age at that point when I was teaching there, so I really related with them. And I didn't start really the Jazz Institute, and I was able to quit Belmont and then fully do the Jazz Institute
Yeah.
about 6 months in, and I was about ready to leave anyway.
Yeah.
So
So, okay, that was just a question that popped up for me. And then you became nonprofit at some point?
uh, we were at our first place. We were at our location we were at for a year and a half. And then we switched locations again for another year and a half. As soon as we went to the last place that we were for 20 years. That was when we became nonprofit. And that was on a whim. We had a lawyer contact us and say he needed to do some pro bono work, and is there anything that he could do for us? And we're like,
Sure.
yes,
Yeah, do the nonprofit thing, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were able to get that in and through the government and all that within a few months for some reason. It
Wow.
was just like, it was all supposed to like happen. I really felt like everything was in the right place, you know?
Interesting. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
And
cool.
so so are the classes, do you have people who are taking long-term classes, or is it more like a class will maybe go a few weeks or months, or just private?
Well, when we first started, it was all 6-week classes.
Hmm.
Until recently, and we started doing 3-week classes because we were figuring that people don't have as much time. So now we're still doing 6-week classes, 3-week classes, and just a one-shot master class. So those are the 3 that we really offer, and they range from very beginning to advanced pro level classes.
Hmm.
So and we teach the Great American Songbook. So right now when the pandemic happened, I had to figure out how to do this and do it online. And so I was making all these tracks. And so we start with George Gershwin, Cole Porter, Rodgers and Hart, Harry Warren, Johnny Mercer, Jimmy Van Heusen. I mean, every single one of them. So right now I've looked at my iTunes, and I have over 2,000 tracks I built in like 16 months.
Oh my God.
That's why I'm crazy.
Wow, that's some intense focus.
Yeah. So, and a few years ago, we started a certificate program, and that's been great because that's just a nice path of study for instrumentalists and vocalists. They can take, they can have a musicianship certificate, which is the real basics like ear training and some theory, and the vocal tech classes and intro to jazz singing, to the Great American Songbook would be a certificate as well.
Huh.
And then vocal performance, and the same thing with instrumentalists as well. It's like a musicianship, the jazz artist, and then we have one for, like, it's kind of like the Great American Songbook, but the jazz artist series, which is like Art Blakey class,
Oh,
Herbie Hancock, Clifford Brown. We've got them all.
oh,
And so that's kind of fun. So people
yeah.
get on, track, a specific track that they want to learn. And then it doesn't certify you, it's just a completion. And
Yeah.
I think that's nice too, to honor people that they've gone through this.
Yeah, that's really great. Um,
Yeah, it's fun,
and
because,
yeah,
we're always constantly looking at like, okay, well, you're missing this class and this class and this class. So here's when it's coming, and then boom.
yeah, I love that. I think that's really great. And especially I love that you're really schooling people on the Great American Songbook. I mean, there's not many schools, I don't think, that are
No,
doing that. I mean, they utilize those songs, but they don't focus on those songs, and
no, I
such
think
a
we're the
body of
only,
information.
yeah, I mean, Michael Feinstein has the Great American Foundation or Songbook Foundation up in Indianapolis, but that's a summer program for him, that he works with kids, or college kids, I think, more than anything. But to my knowledge, no. I think that universities will dive into the Great American Songbook, but not spend as long as I do. Like, if it's 6 or 12 or 9 weeks on, Cole Porter, you need that long of a time to get through all that stuff.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, holy cow.
yeah. That's really great. I love that. That you're really, you're really adding to the betterment of people.
Well, we've had a really good time. And honestly, with the pandemic happening, something opened up that was so interesting for me was, here I've been teaching these classes for 24 years, basically. I love every time I do it, and it gets deeper and richer and more wonderful every time I do it. But this year, what has happened is that, and I don't know why I didn't think of this, but I've been having family members of the songbook come in to the class.
Really?
I'm like, duh, why didn't I do this? But I think it was just because I wasn't doing anything online.
Yeah.
So, I can't fly these people in. It's
Yeah.
like, unless I have some kind of grant. And so we've had Judy Carmichael Jr.
Wow.
Like, I thought I literally was going to cry the whole time through. I couldn't believe I'm sitting in front of him. The nephew for Billy Strayhorn, the great nephew for Jimmy Van Heusen, uh, uh, the granddaughter of Harry Warren, and we had the granddaughter of Peggy Lee so far.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's been great. It's been really, really fun to invite those people and to meet our students, and they'll talk for 45 minutes or an hour and then sign off, or some of them will stay on and listen to the students sing. So that's fun.
Oh man, that is so good.
Yeah.
So they do it online, or is that what
Mhm.
you're saying? They're doing it
Yep.
online. That is
Yeah,
so
we're doing
cool.
it. Yeah, and it's now that we're offering all of this online. Um, I just think it's just really created another outlet for us. I mean, we've never done this before until, the pandemic, and I
Yeah.
had to figure it out really quick.
Yeah.
But now we're like reaching over, I think the last numbers were like 42 states and 16 countries.
Wow.
So not bad.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. It's interesting because one of the last newsletters that you sent out, I was looking and I was looking through it and I thought, oh, I'd like to see that person do this master class, but I didn't see anything that said online. It looked to me like it was all live. So,
Well, because I think what we're doing right now is we haven't been able to, well, I shouldn't say not. We're only doing one live class per day
yeah,
in our new place. And that's just because of what's going on here, with COVID. But um, I would say, 90% of our stuff right now is both. I mean, we can do it all. I mean, I'm always going to offer things. I'm never
okay,
going to stop with online.
yeah,
That's for sure, because
yeah.
that is just like amazing to me.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that is amazing. Gee, I should introduce you to this guy. In fact, at one time, I wanted to make a musical about this guy's life. So let's see, his father, his father was a man named Gus Bavona, and I think he played alto. I haven't thought about this for a while. Anyway, he was like one of the main players in Hollywood for
mhm.
movies and everything, right? His mother was a singer, not that well known, but a good singer. And her brother, whose name I can't remember, and maybe uh, wrote "Thanks for the Memory" and a few other like big
Okay.
hits. And so at Gary's house growing up, there was all kinds of, great American songbook people. And
Hmm.
like that was how he grew up. It was really fascinating to hear him talk. And like I said, I wanted to do a musical on him, but that and a million other things, you know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
uh, so anyway, I should hook you up. Maybe
Yeah, that'd be
that would be
wonderful.
fun,
That'd be great.
And there's other people I've interviewed on this. There was a drummer, I can't remember his name either, but his father was, he lived here. His father was a radio personality, and he was really into jazz and also movies. And they lived in an area that a lot of the movie stars lived in.
Mhm.
And so another person who grew up, it just with that as a part of his life. He didn't realize, it was anything special. Of
Right, right.
course, now looking back, it's like, wow, that was pretty amazing.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, that's really great. I just love it. I want to come on your site now that I know you do online. I don't know why I didn't get that from the newsletter, but I should have gone to your
I
website.
think you
What
just
what
have
is
to
the
go
website
a little deeper into it.
in the
It's
newsletter?
It's just nashvilljazz.org.
Okay.
And once you click on it, it will always tell you which ones are live and which ones are online.
Okay. Great. I'm gonna do that. I'm interested.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
I have such a fun
So
time.
is that mainly your focus in Nashville? I mean, or of course, COVID aside, were you working a lot, performing a lot too, or were you mostly focusing on the organization?
I wish
Is
that
that
I
a
was
loaded
playing. I
question?
wish I was playing more. Honestly, the workshop has been like my life for the past 20 years, just building it. And
Yeah.
we partner a lot with other organizations, and that's been, it's just stair steps up. But the good part of it is that we hired a another executive director. Roger and I, my husband Roger Spencer and I, have both been executive directors of the
Yeah.
workshop, and we've just moved around our titles and stuff. But
Yeah.
I haven't really got to do as much as I've wanted to as far as playing, traveling and doing that kind of thing. But we do a lot of producing. We produce a lot of vocalist and instrumentalist albums, either on our label or um, if their own or whatever. I have a label that I'm also on, Burton Avenue, um,
What
Green
is it
Hills
called?
Music. It's Burton Avenue.
Burton Avenue.
It's a gift shop label out
Hmm.
of Nashville, and it's probably you would know it if anybody here knows BG Adair. It's the same label as BG's on,
I see.
and so there's at least 30. There's more than 36 albums of BG, but they've done a
Wow.
ton of albums on BG. So I've done about 3 or 4
Uh-huh.
with that particular label, and then I have
Yeah.
my own. So
Yeah.
I just haven't recorded anything for a really long time. It's time.
Well, I know. I mean, just I don't, I'm not involved in I things come in and out of my life that I create, curate some series or start a
Hmm.
club or, so those things have come in and out, but and so it's enough to recognize how time consuming it is and how it can take your focus away from yourself as an
Yeah,
artist. But then yours is like, 100 times that because it's so huge. It's so much a part of your life. And like you say, when you partner with people, that actually makes it more intense, right? Because
yeah.
there's more activities to hook up
And
with.
it's, yeah, and for a while I was doing all of the partnering and programming,
Yeah.
and Roger was doing all the booking in the cave
Yeah.
of live performances. And then it's just becoming a bigger machine. So now I've stepped back just to do the education. And, we're starting some new education programs now, and that's great. And, I've got my fingers in, a whole kid program from like 2 to 10. That was the age group we were missing. And we had done some summer camps for teenagers, but never that age group for the little ones. And so we just built a new program called Jazz AM. And it's a puppet show. I'm not kidding, it's the cutest thing ever. It's 3 puppets, Mingus, Max, and Monk. And they're all their instruments. And they're these beautiful built puppets out of wood. I mean, it's spectacular. So we're doing a series that once a month, and talking about Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald and Duke Ellington, and it's just as sweet as can be.
Wow.
So I'm having fun doing that, because then you're creative,
Yeah, that sounds great.
So we've got a lot of irons in the fire. That's for sure. So,
Wow, that's a lot. And you said you're from Indiana, right?
I'm originally from Anderson, Indiana.
Uh-huh.
I went to school at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. David Letterman.
David Letterman.
They had a great. They have a great musical theater program there now, one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
And I was there the first year. They started a jazz degree.
Oh.
So it's a guinea pig. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I stayed in Indiana until I was 23, and as soon as I got done with school, I moved out to LA. And that's where I met my husband.
Oh, okay.
In LA, and but I was only there for 10 months. His work was starting to dry up, and then the earth shook out there. Midwest girls do not do that. Do not do earthquakes. I was like, get me the hell out of here. So I met Roger like the 3rd day I was there.
Oh, wow.
No kidding. Yeah. At Chadney's.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was playing with Doug McDonald and Nick Martinez.
Oh God. Great drummer.
And so I was in there with a friend, and I was like, okay, who's everybody playing? And blah, 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 and Roger Spencer. And I said, well, my brother, who was on a cruise ship with Roger, gave me his number. He says, you need to look this guy up when you get out there. And there he was.
Oh, wow.
And then I never went home. I had to marry him.
And then what year was that? I'm just curious.
That was 1987, and we were married in 1988. So we moved to Nashville March of 1988.
Oh, wow.
I'm serious. I wasn't there. I was there 10 months in LA. That was it.
A lot of change for the girl from Indiana.
I know, right?
Yeah, moved to LA, fall in love, get married, move to Nashville. Yeah.
All within a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had some friends out there, and I took a job at Victoria's Secret selling panties. Hey.
Hey, somebody's got to sell them.
Yeah, that's right. And so it was. I had a little job there, and then I worked for LA Music selling Yamaha pianos, and that's what I did when I was a teenager. My father has owned a music store in central Indiana for years, and that was my job I always had to do as a teenager. So
wow, that's pretty cool. When did you start playing piano?
Oh, my mom says 2 or 3 years old. I was really starting to, do it pretty well. I guess, I don't know. Started piano lessons at 5, and then I was faking out my teachers. So I was playing things. I watched them play something, and I could play it. And Mom never knew. My mom was a piano teacher for 50 years. And she figured it out that I wasn't reading a note, you know. And so finally she found me somebody to, you know, bust my ass, you know. But
It's funny.
yeah, I played drums too. I was
Oh,
a drummer probably before, professionally, before I was a piano player professionally.
oh,
So
wow. Yeah. Do you still play?
when I can, I love it. I love when I can like sit down and play with the students.
Yeah.
Like I do a whole class on get in the pocket,
Oh,
how to get
cool.
in the pocket. And so I sit them down. I sit, it's not just vocalists, but instrumentalists. I'll teach them, you know, how to hold the stick and how to play and just play quarter notes. And then we get to the splang-a-lang, you know, and swing rhythm. And
Cool.
it's a transformative class for them, for sure.
Yeah. Actually, let's take a little detour here because I'm always interested in how people teach time and groove. Not time so much, groove.
Yeah.
I've had various workshops on groove, and some teachers, they just have their own take on it, and I always learn. So, how do you teach groove? Pocket. You
Well,
said in the pocket, which I'm interpreting as groove.
yeah, it's all about the triplet, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I always think of it as an egg rolling down a hill. It's not. It's
Oh,
not right. It's not. You don't want to see time this way. You want to see time this way.
oh,
As it's almost literally
interesting.
feels like an egg. You know, gadum da dun dun gadum da da instead of dun dun dun
Yeah.
dun. If you see it that way, it's going to be really really rigid. And you know, when we sit down and play, I get the student behind the drum set, and it just miraculously starts to happen. You know, they're starting to feel it differently.
Is it
Of
because they start, like if they've never played, start with quarter notes?
start with quarter notes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll have cymbals out like around, you know, just on a cymbal stand, and everybody gets to play.
Yeah.
You know, and just playing, and I'm playing like brushes, you know, and if I hear that they're kind of like behind the beat, I'm like, nope, you're not in there. You're not in there. You got to be, you know, Harry Sweets Edison could play quarter notes and swing you into bad health. You know, he was all about that. You know,
Yeah.
da, 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 dee, da, do, da, da. So it's all about the quarter note in a way too. You know, it's
Yeah.
like if you listen to Basie band, and they were all about the quarter note.
Yeah. 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 Um, my friend Jay Clayton, who's a really good
Hmm.
singer.
Hmm.
So when she does workshops, I've seen her have everybody dance around the room
Yep.
and
Yep.
just on that quarter note.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's, of course, the more physical I think you can get the student to get in there.
Yep.
Eventually, everybody's going to do that. Thank you. My waiter is bringing me Starbucks. Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Oh, that's okay, honey. Thank you so much. So good to me.
Yeah. I've really found that I think one of my, you know, my biggest strength, you know, as a player was that I did have that training behind the drum set.
Yeah,
So that my groove and the feel of what I play is so, you know, to the core.
embedded. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And I feel that everybody, you know, like that it's only going to help you to sit behind that drum set
Yeah,
and, you know, do the hi-hat and play quarter notes, you know,
yeah,
don't worry about anything else,
yeah,
you know. A lot of times when I'm teaching rhythm sections too, I'm probably the worst on drummers than I am piano players, honestly, because if I
oh,
hear the bass drum going, I take the pedal out from under them. I'm like, you can't play the pedal. Like, just don't do it, you know. Um, Duffy Jackson, he had a great way of doing feathering that bass drum pedal that you never really heard it, just barely felt it, and that's how it should be used, not, you know.
That reminds me of a piano thing that somebody told me. A piano player I admire, he said when he was, kind of instructing me on playing, he said, do not put your foot on uh, the I forget the name of the pedal that makes everything hold.
Oh, sustain.
Sustain. Thank you. Sorry. COVID brain. Yeah. He said, do not keep your foot on the sustain pedal. Cause of course I tended to do that because it sounds good. And I don't have to,
Yeah, right. You don't have to articulate. It just
right.
feels really good if I'm filling it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to remember that from time to time. But
Yeah.
that's interesting about the drums because I really don't know much about the drums. We have a drum set in the house. My husband used to play like when he was a kid, and I bought him a set for a gift one time, and so we have a drum set. But I really don't know how to play. But drummers have often told me I should learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, I played in high school, in the swing choirs and stuff like that, and I also played in my dad's big band.
Oh, cool.
When I was 13. Then my first real professional gig was, I don't know if you've ever heard of this theme park. It's called Kings Island. It's over in, like, by Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh,
It's like they're Paramount owned all these
okay,
other
okay.
ones, like King's Dominion, and there was other ones.
Yeah.
Anyway, I auditioned, and I auditioned on piano, and they saw on my resume that I played drums, and they called me up, and they were like, "We want to do an all-girls band, and it's going to be like a Mae West show, and we need a drummer." And I guess I didn't make, like, they didn't want me to play piano. They wanted me to play drums because they didn't have anybody else that was playing drums. So that's where I started that with makeup, like a giant, a lot of makeup, big wig, boobs up to here,
Oh my God.
15-pound dresses, the Mae West
Oh
can dress.
God.
It was like 5 shows a day, 6 days a week for $175. I still have the contract. It was kind
Oh
of
my
awesome.
God. For
Yeah.
$175 for the week.
Yeah, we thought we had made like so much money. We thought, oh my God, that was 1983.
Oh my God, that's
1983.
hysterical.
I know.
That's so funny. And how long did that last?
It lasted just one summer for me.
Yeah.
The girls that were in the front, the singers, the 3 of them got in a really bad auto accident.
Oh,
And we always did this thing in August called Coney Island. And it was all the shows were dark on one particular day. And we'd go to Coney Island and we'd all make fun of each other's shows. That's really what we did. And they never showed up, and I knew something was wrong. I got in the car and I started calling. I was calling hospitals, and I finally found them. And they had lost the brakes had went out, and they
oh
hit
my
a big
God.
pole. So the girls were out. They had facial injuries. So here I am in this place, and I don't have a job. Like what the hell am I going to do now? So I went to the office. I'm like, I don't care if I'm picking up cigarette butts, on the park. Let me do something. So I was. They were like, well, can you play ragtime piano? Yeah, sure. Never played it before in my life. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just told them. I always said yes to everything. So
Yeah.
you just never say no, I learned that a
Right,
long time ago.
exactly.
So I was
First
one of
rule.
a couple of the characters like Fred Flintstone, they walk around the park, it's
Yeah.
it in the middle of August, it's
Oh,
hot as it's blazing hot. Like you can only be out there for 15 minutes. You have to come in. Well, it was good because I kept losing a lot of weight, just from sweating. Then, uh, soon as I was able to get, some music together, I played in the saloon, and then finished out the season. But, I had rent to pay. I got an
oh my
apartment,
God.
you
Oh my
know.
God. That's so funny. What a funny story.
Yeah,
There's an excellent stride pianist, Judy Carmichael.
I
Do you
know
know that
who
name?
Judy is.
And
Yeah,
she
yeah,
played
she's
for,
awesome.
I think she played for years at Disneyland.
Yep.
This just
Hmm.
her herself,
She's
and
awesome.
yeah, she's really great. Yeah, but and she's got a great personality too. She's, everything is, it's lighthearted,
Right,
she's a
right,
jokester. So, that just added to her happiness.
right, 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 right,
Wow,
right.
that's absolutely hysterical. I mean, the joys of youth is that you're more inclined to not say no,
Oh yeah, I never
you
said no to
know?
anything.
Yeah. So,
And then, that resulted into doing a couple years up in Michigan. I did a ski resort up there, and I was musical director there. And then that led to an equity theater in Indianapolis, and I was musical director there.
cool.
Yeah.
Ah, you moved right along at a young
Well,
age
I
too.
just did everything I could. When
Yeah.
I was at Ball State, I felt I really wanted to go to Indiana University, but my grades were not good. So I ended up being at Ball State, and I did well, for the most part. I partied an awful lot, and that was not good. But I really just tried to involve myself in everything I could do. I was in the university singers. I was doing musical theater shows. I was doing anything I could, and I was just busy all the time. And that I think that's what springboarded me into, never saying no. You know, I
Yeah.
just I just did it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, you were fortunate to obviously either not have attention on if you were good or bad, or, maybe your parents raised you like that, or who knows how we end up like, how we end up. But, you know, you had a point of view that was not stuck on your own disabilities, for instance.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
it's really interesting. Yeah, and that really makes a great teacher too, because you can recognize
Oh, it's the first
things
thing
that
I
people are
say
going through.
when I teach my ear training classes. I'm like, y'all, I just need to tell you, like, you all think that I'm all up in here. Yes, I have perfect pitch, but I want you to know that I flunked music theory in college twice. Then it becomes like I'm a normal person. I'm
Yeah,
like, I hated it. I hated it totally. And it was just
yeah.
never made sense to me. And I would try to figure out what it meant in jazz. And then they were like, no, that's not what we're doing here. They were so rigid and in their box. Like, oh, okay. So I just had to figure it out myself.
Interesting. I went to Berkeley and I lived in Boston, and my dad was a sax player, my mom was a singer, and I had twin sisters 4 years older than me, and one played piano and they sang. So, it was very musical growing up. But so when I went to Berkeley, I went for flute. I was playing flute, and they didn't actually have vocal at the time. That's how long ago it was. But so unfortunately, God bless my mom. My mom was just, a rah rah kind of mom. So when I went for the interview, they wanted to start me at the beginning, which would have been great. And unfortunately, my mother pushed them into a little more advanced, because I had been experienced, but that didn't mean I knew theory or anything like that. So when I went through Berkeley for 2.5, 3 years, I missed stuff because I didn't have the beginnings.
Yeah.
And So I really can relate to what you said. The theory was like, I was missing part of it. And so I didn't really get it. And then there was, the main theory teacher, I can't remember his name, but every time I tell people how boring he was, they can't believe it. But anyway, he was a monotone teacher. So I just totally was, I was lost, man. I had no interest. I was lost. I mean, there were other things I was interested in.
Yeah, yeah. I was the same way. They were teaching it from the classical point of view and not the commercial point of view.
Uh,
And until we started a jazz degree there, then I had a teacher that that made sense.
yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, that's what that means. Then later on, when I went back to try to get my master's,
Yeah.
my husband, I had to take, what is that? It's a famous theory book anyway that everybody had, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh no, here we go again. And he goes, no, and he just started explaining stuff to me. I'm like really? It's that easy? They always made it so hard. So
That's so cool.
I try to make it easy for the students and have fun.
Yeah. On another note, my friend Roland here, he, he wants to know how you could play the drums with a big Mae West style dress.
It was interesting. It was interesting. I had knickers on, like like little pants with ruffles on, and yeah, it was. Once you play in a dress, you can do it.
I have a friend here who shares the All Music site for me for artists and your All Music site. So I don't know if you contribute to this, but this is perhaps what you're
Uh-huh.
on. Um,
Yeah,
do these look familiar?
yeah, they do.
Did you mention Jack before?
Jack Jezro.
Yeah.
He's part of the Burton Avenue record
Oh,
label.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's one of the owners of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Hugh Peanuts Whalum. Peanuts Whalum.
That is Kirk Whalum's uncle.
I figured it was something.
He was really something too.
Uh-huh. So you've been on a lot, and this is probably not everything, right?
Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah.
There's probably some recent stuff that's just not up there.
How many recordings have you made of yourself? Like you're the artist?
Nine,
9. Yeah. It's a lot.
nine, and I've just been on other people's stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
9 to my name. So
Yeah. Can we listen again to something
sure.
that, let's see.
I was gonna say, since maybe you guys got some LA people out, why don't you roll down to see if you can find the Pete Chrisley.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
right
Pete
there.
Chrisley.
Limehouse. Let's see if that's the.
It's at the
Yeah,
Jazz Cave.
yeah, yeah. That's the one.
I just have to tell
Really?
you, Pete Chrisley, when I moved here when I was 21, and I worked at Dante's, the jazz club,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
for a year and a half, and that's how I got into the real jazz community. And Pete Chrisley, there was a guy, Joe Roccasano, and he and Pete were super close. Joe was great
Yep.
tenor player, and or maybe he played alto, I can't remember. But anyway, so we were the three of us, we used to hang out a lot together. I love Pete. He's
Oh
such a
my God, I love him so much. And we did an album together.
oh,
And it was live from the Jazz Cave. We did a live album in there, and it did really well on the charts. I think we hit
really?
like number 12, something like that. We got all the way
Wow.
up. He said it was the best he's ever done with any album he's ever recorded. I'm like, what? And it was only just probably because, we paid for, radio promo, but I had somebody do it that was really good. So I ended
Wow.
up doing pretty
Well,
well.
this is a joy. I can't wait to hear this one.
Oh, it's swinging. that look that Pete has.
Oh man. Wow, that was great. He's such a sweetheart. He's such an interesting, kind of person to observe because, he was so well known in the studio
Yeah, yeah,
realm, right? I mean, he played on Steely Dan. He was like the
yeah.
soloist. And but then this is where his, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
his love,
We
the jazz style. I mean, and he's kind of understated too, right?
Oh,
He's
he
not,
totally is. He totally
yeah.
is. And he came to town and played something. It was a Watertown Jazz Festival just right
Oh,
outside
yeah,
Nashville
yeah.
with Andy Martin.
Oh,
And Pete and Roger knew each other from LA.
yeah.
So we were the trio. Well, he
Hmm.
loved our trio so much that that's the reason why Pete came back and wanted to do a whole album with my quartet.
Oh,
So every time he comes to town, it's my quartet. So it's fun. We've just become really great friends. He played on another album of mine. I did two albums that were all devoted to Count Basie songs, and I transferred all the big band stuff down to just piano, and uh, and Pete played on the second one. So it was
that's
cool,
great. And talk about talk about a pocket.
right? I'm telling you, it's like that's those guys that I play with. It's just like putting your
Yeah, the
favorite slippers on.
time was so good. Your husband looks familiar to me. I guess maybe I knew him in LA too.
He was there for 13 years.
I probably knew him, or
You might, well, we might have discussed this, that he and Jeff Stradling.
oh,
So Jeff was our best man, and Roger was his best man. His
oh,
buddy.
oh, wow. Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah, in those days, I think those days was that's when I probably met Jeff, I guess. Yeah.
Roger was with Les Brown
Okay.
and Harry James when
Yeah.
he was out there.
Yeah. Wow. That was really enjoyable. God.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Um, it just it reminds me of what I give a lot of value to, which is um, I don't know if you would call it the pocket, but it's you create this or you tap into this universe,
Hmm.
that's aesthetic and magical, and it's not really the material universe at all. But over the years, you learn how to get into it as fast as possible. Could be after one note or whatever, or
Right.
before one note maybe. But yeah, so that's what listening to you guys makes me feel like. It's like it's the real yummy stuff.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's
So,
awesome.
wow. So let's see. I was trying to think of another person who I had interviewed recently who was really a teacher mostly. I can't remember who it was. They all kind of blur into each other. Sorry to say that. I've been writing little emails to like my guests, who I had over the last 2 years. So I don't, kind of lose touch because once you interview
Hmm.
people, then it's gone.
That's right.
And yeah, so were you going to say something?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that education is like such a big field for you, and I what do you think? I have somebody who appears on this sometimes who comes up on my audience list who asks questions like this, but this is probably a good question for you. Uh, what do you think the universities uh, could be missing in jazz education?
It's just real life stuff. You know, we take the journeyman apprentice thing
Yeah,
very much, where I play a lot with the other instrumentalist, because they need to see what it feels like. If they're all the same level, they're not gonna, you know they're not going to grow as fast. And I think this is the reason why our not only our instrumentalists grow but our singers grow, because I'm playing the piano, and so I spoil them.
yeah,
Honestly, I know that, and
yeah,
because they tell me, because when they go out and they have a different piano player that's a student piano player, maybe not as experienced as I am,
right.
they're like, Lori, I totally train wrecked, but I think that's something that we do that is so unique,
Yeah,
um, and that is probably what I have always felt with universities that's missing. It's a missing link. I mean, how could they do it? They pack their classes full.
yeah,
When I was in jazz band in college, there was two bass players and two drummers and two piano players and two guitar players. We never got the chance to really, excel that quickly on our instrument because we were given the other time, time up to the other person.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes you have that in classes. It's like,
yeah.
you just
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah,
I think that too. It's like the thing that I said at the very beginning. It's like, I don't think colleges and universities teach the real core stuff. They teach ear training and theory and that kind of stuff, but like gig things. What do you need to know on the bandstand?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like when you're going to mess up and what happens if this goes on? No
Yeah.
one has ever taught singers like how to count off a band. Like when I was in there, it was like they didn't know how to, how to work a band. They didn't have charts. They didn't have, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I just think it's the stuff that we do is just real, real, real gig stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's definitely
Have
what's
you
missing.
do you think that there are more, I mean, let's see, in my involvement with universities and schools, sometimes I'll feel like there are strange levels of
Oh my God,
poli-
yes.
political, whatever you want to call
Political and just in general. When I was teaching at Belmont, they put me in to teach the ear training 4, which was the last semester of ear training. So
it.
would have been the most advanced. And I didn't have I had singers that couldn't tell the difference between a second and a third, you know. And I was like, oh no, oh no, you know. So uh,
Do you
it,
think are you kind of in touch with what's happening throughout the country at different schools? Do you think that there are schools that are improving and
oh, definitely. I think and even with Belmont, they've really gotten a much stronger department. They're growing, and they're in the industry, and they were trying to get into the industry when I was there, and they had like a music industry, a total music industry program, and engineering program, and on that kind of stuff. But it's really big here now. In fact, you know, Vanderbilt has just started this year their jazz program, and so that's great. I mean, they really got some great players there, and so we're surrounded. Middle Tennessee State University, they have a jazz program, so all three of our universities here have some good
yeah,
programming,
yeah, that's great.
and we work
Uh,
with them all. We work with them all, and um, we have for years.
yeah,
So
yeah. In the days before COVID, I had been kind of hosting and curating workshops in my home for 20 years, and lots of them, especially in the earlier days. I would do like maybe 6 to 8 workshops a month, on weekends, and which was great. Not only did I see a lot of artists come through, visiting
mhm,
artists, I'd that up, but also the students. Those students who are smart enough to come to a lot of different ones saw, you know, incredibly, I think, valuable. You see different professional artists,
mhm,
how they teach and what's important to them, and the fact that they are basically talking about the same information but in different ways,
right,
so that's really super valuable. But
yeah,
I was going to say, if you ever want to come to Los Angeles, and I would love to make a workshop with you. Sounds
sure,
really great. I think students would really love that.
yeah, I'd love to do that. If I never get out there again. Whew, right?
How's COVID where you are?
We're number one in the country.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's no beds here. Completely full. Yeah, it's. I honestly, I'm a little worried because over Labor Day, as we know what happens over any kind
Yeah,
of holiday.
right.
But just in general, people are just. I think we're about 48% vaccinated here,
Oh, geez.
which is not very good.
Yeah.
So it's usually the rural counties, but that are around us, not core Nashville, but
Yeah, yeah.
there's more people vaccinated here. But uh, we are at a lot of the venues are requiring vaccination cards, and
Yeah.
that's how it's going.
Are there venues open now?
Yep,
That's
yep,
good.
yep. And there's a lot of stuff going on, but now, I think more of the venues are definitely jumping on board with the vaccination cards because the rate is so high here.
Yeah.
And we just downtown Nashville, Broadway area it's really like New Orleans Bourbon Street now.
Wow.
It's gross. I mean, I suppose there's some things down there that people will love to see. We have a new National African American Music Museum that is fabulous,
Ah,
and that is right downtown.
yeah.
But you've got all the honky tonks, and it is a tourist town now. It never was when I first moved here. It was not, but it
Ah,
certainly is now.
interesting.
So those people on the streets, I can't imagine the musicians down there. I've known so many musicians that have gotten COVID that have been playing down there.
Oh,
People don't wear masks. They're not gonna wear masks here. So it's happening.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Um, yeah. Well, changing gear for a minute. Um, was there a record that blew your mind when you were coming up that kind of that you played over and over again that you just kind of embraced and it got into your DNA?
I had several. Um, a big one was Oscar Peterson, any of the Oscar Peterson albums.
Knew you were going to say that.
Um, uh, and the weird part was for me was about 17 years ago. We had Ed Thigpen come to town and do some master classes and a big performance of day of classes and everything. And I got to play with him. Me and Roger got to play with Ed Thigpen. And I
Yeah.
did not realize it until I'm sitting behind the piano going, wait a minute. It was not Oscar Peterson I played to. It was Ed Thigpen
Oh,
I played
oh,
with.
isn't that
Because at
interesting?
that point in my life, I was playing drums. And
Oh,
just tears were streaming down my face. I'm trying to play the piano. I'm sitting in the Oscar Peterson chair, like we're doing some of the songs that he recorded with Oscar, It was very sweet, a very, very, very sweet time that he was here. He was just diagnosed with Parkinson's.
oh,
And during the performance, he dropped a stick, and you could just tell that he was kind of like shattered for a moment. But he recovered really quickly, and I kept looking at him and smiling, and you could do this, come on,
oh,
And afterwards, he just hugged me and hugged me. He says,
oh,
"I could feel you with me," and he was so
oh.
he was, that was just like the first few months of his diagnosis of that. But he was a great man. Um, I love Monty
Wow,
Alexander.
that's so interesting. Oh,
I know. I love Monty Alexander to
yeah.
death. To death. So he's my guy, and Gene Harris. Those are the three, and Red Garland probably. There's four.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
honestly, you really want to know the big one?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Gino Vanilli. I love Gino Vanilli so much. I can't even tell you. I think he was a groundbreaker.
Interesting.
He was a groundbreaker for stuff, Like no one played like that band. Like so
You're not the
progressive.
first person. You're not the first person who has said that to me.
I'm serious. That whole band was insane.
Yeah,
And he was good looking. So
that too.
yeah. He had a lot of hair on his chest. So So, but no, I loved it. I went and saw him perform in Indianapolis, and I had all the songs memorized in my head. So that was a big one.
That's great. Yeah, but I really love that thing about that it was Ed Thigpen that you were playing to. That's so interesting. Yeah,
I seriously, I didn't realize it until I was just like, I sat down and I thought, wait a minute, it was him that I was learning all the stuff, you
yeah,
know, with drums.
yeah,
It wasn't Oscar Peterson because nobody could play like Oscar Peterson.
yeah,
Nobody, you could
right.
not play that fast. That he was like a freakazoid.
Yeah,
But I certainly I got some things from him, but technically that you know I was never at
yeah,
that level. So
yeah. Interesting. Do you think your style of playing, I mean, basically was started back then, listening to Oscar and Ed, and then kind of stuck with you as a core all the way through?
I think
Because I
so
mean,
because
Gino Vanelli is like in there, and that's very different.
it was so it was so 80s, 70s, and 80s, and that was such a time, when you're going through high school and
Yeah,
you're listening to, that's in very formative times for me.
yeah.
Um, um, I loved big bands too. I listened to Count Basie. I listened to Jimmy Smith a lot because my dad had the big band and all we listened to was jazz. So fast forward, when I got here to Tennessee, Jimmy Smith just happened to move to right outside of Nashville, and I
And you're
met Jimmy,
speaking of Jimmy Smith, the organ player.
the organ player.
Okay,
Yeah,
not the drummer. Okay.
no, and he would come over to my house. He would come
Ah,
over and play in our studio. I have
wow.
recordings of him
Oh my
playing
God.
playing my pianos. He was a character.
He had a jazz club here when I
No,
was like 21 or 2 or something, and I used to go jam there.
he was a piece of work. A piece of work.
Not sure how you mean that.
just he would say anything that he wanted to say.
Oh.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, his wife tried to get him to dry out here, and let's just say that that didn't really do a trick, anything to him at all. But he was still a bad boy. I saw him out at L.A. At the IAJE convention in Long Beach. It was
Uh-huh.
right before he died. His wife had died,
Yeah.
and he was pretty sad. He was playing with Joey D.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
something with Joey,
Yeah.
and I had to really work to get him to remember who I was because he would come over to our house a lot, and um, so he was sweet though.
Um, my friend Roland asks, have you heard Oscar Peterson doing his blues etude?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Here you go.
absolutely.
Oscar Oscar fans.
Oh man.
Um, here's a question that's kind of maybe too personal to answer, or maybe not. This is just a cool, transparent kind of a question. What was your greatest setback along the way that you picked yourself up? Obviously, you picked yourself up after whatever that was. Do you ever think about that?
Um. Hmm. Honestly, the biggest one I've had so far is just what I've just gone through, and um,
Ah,
and I feel like I'm still kind of going through it.
the
Um,
move. You're speaking
the
about the
the
moving.
move, yeah, the
Yeah.
move from our place for 20 years into a new place. I think we're in a much better situation because we
Yeah.
we have more fans and donors and supporters. than we did when we first started. But this has been just really like every day I feel like I'm climbing a giant mountain just to, to be able to do what we're doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we have a lot of setbacks, a lot of setbacks. Um, as far as personally, I think my biggest one is that I haven't really gotten back to my music for a while, and I'm not sure that's a setback, but
Yeah.
it's just I've been putting my career on hold for a long time. So it's to get the workshop where it has been. Um, but I've played and then
Yeah.
done albums and stuff like that, but just not really full force.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Boy, life is interesting.
life gets in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it leads us places. You look back and you say, wow, if I had just gone this way instead of this way, you know, I just wonder what would have happened. Um,
I think that too. With if I would have went to IU and studied with David Baker, yeah. But you know, I didn't know that I could take the SAT test over. I didn't know that. My parents didn't know that. And so um, I think about that quite a bit. Like, what would I have been? What kind of musician would I have been if I would have studied with that guy?
yeah,
Because he was one of the best.
yeah,
You know, he changed a lot of lives.
yeah. But
So,
also speaking for where we are in our lives and
mhm.
what we've done. Um, one time I had this girlfriend who was a superb singer, and she passed away about 7 or 8 years ago. And but I knew her from when I was in my 20s, and she was always absolutely divine. And she and I, were doing basically the same thing, basically the Great American Songbook, and coming along. And I was like working my ass off trying to get gigs and setting up things. That was I was working so hard. And then she I don't, but here, try looking at that. Um, so, yeah, she didn't do any of that. I mean, nothing. She was that kind of jazz musician,
Mhm.
of course, just like, you know, not hands on in the business way, right? And
Right,
she would
right.
get offers of recordings and get these great gigs. And for a minute, I was really like kind of bugged. And then I realized, you know what? This has nothing to do with you.
Mhm.
That's her path. This is my path. If I don't have what I want, I'm just not working hard enough on that to get there.
Right.
And I obviously have to do something. I'm working hard, so I'm doing things, and it's just my path. It's just what I have to accomplish and to get where I'm going. So that I got that at a very early age, in my 20s, and so I could at least see that. But still, looking back, like there was a moment in time when I was here and I was going to move to New York. And then I met my first husband here, and you know how that is. And then 17 years later, I was still here. And I think about that too. What if I had gone to New York? I would have been a really different, that would have just been so different for my psyche and my musical adventuring. And,
Exactly, but you know what? I also think that we're supposed to do what we're supposed to do.
absolutely.
All these avenues that we've chosen is exactly where it needed to go. You
Yes,
know?
I do too. I mean, think about how many people you've influenced over your career. Crazy.
Yeah. And I love, just that there's just more doors opening. It's just like it's all, having a business like what I have. It's like I got to think, okay, there's got to be a lawyer, a music lawyer that I know, and it's somebody that comes to the Nashville Jazz Workshop, and there usually is, it's like everything is just right in front of me, and I sometimes lose sight of that.
Yeah.
But it really is. We have a fabulous, array of characters and people that help us, and
Yeah.
I'm thankful and very grateful for that.
Yeah. Um, I feel like listening a little more.
Okay,
So let's go find something again.
let's do Donna. Let's look at Donna stuff. Um,
Um,
let's
will it
see.
be under you or
Keep going down a little bit. Pete
Peter
Bernstein's a good one.
Bernstein?
Oh,
Whoa.
that's a good one too. But I wanted you to hear the singer.
Should I
I'm
put her
looking.
name in?
Yeah, put Donna
Oh,
McElroy.
boy. That's going to be nice too. Uh,
Laurie Meacham, put Donna McElroy right beside it.
McGill, how do you spell it?
McElroy. There we go. Go down to let me see. Keep going. Why can't we live together? This is a
Okay.
tune that she and I wrote together, and it was during the Rodney King riots.
Oh,
It's a very powerful tune, but Donna is a very, very great singer that I worked with. She was, when she lived here, she was one of the top background singers in Nashville. She was with Garth Brooks.
oh, wow.
She was with Amy Grant for a long time.
Oh,
Um, uh, she just on a ton of records out of Nashville. Um, and then she got offered to go to Berkeley to teach, and she actually really raised that whole vocal department up even farther.
oh.
Um, they named a stairwell after her a few years ago. She was very important, I think, to their growth. And she was a Fisk Jubilee singer here in Nashville, so she started a Negro spiritual group there at Berkeley. And she really did some masterful things, especially just background singing, and they just knew that they had a gem, So she just retired back in May,
Oh,
and, from being there. So just a time,
cool.
I think. So
All right. Well, let's hear that.
I have a dream. It fills my sleeping and my waking hours. It's a dream of us together, learning to live with each other, settling all our strife. We've got to see there's so much we can do to change calamity. Just us two. It begins with me and you. So to every brother, asking each other, why can't we live together? Give me what I'm due and I'll give it back to you. Why can't we live together? You know I'm gonna reach for you when things go wrong, to keep me strong in stormy weather. Why can't we live? 'Cause this cruel, cruel world, it is all we've got, so let's make the best of it. It's compassion that we all need, then we'll have a one world nation built on cooperation. It won't hurt to help me, so can you tell me, why can't we live together? Give me what I'm doing, I'll give it back to you. Why can't we live together? You know I'm gonna reach for you when things go wrong, to keep me strong in stormy weather. Why can't we live? What a joy it is to give all the goodness we could live. In one accord, in harmony, no ill feelings. Ha! Set the wheels in motion. It's more than an ocean. Let's take a stand, lend a caring hand. Why can't we? Give me what I'm due, and I swear I'll give it back to you. You know I'm gonna have to reach for you when things go wrong, to keep me strong in stormy weather. Why can't we live together? Yeah. Why? Why? Thank you so much.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Wow. Great song.
Thanks. Yeah. We wrote a lot of songs together. In fact, we put a songbook out.
Oh,
And
really?
Yeah, so it's available, tunes that we wrote, and she had her students. It was like they had to buy that, you know. It was part of it, you know. So,
Rightfully so.
but you
That's
know,
cool.
the song is still prominent. You know, the message is still there. So,
Oh, yes, it is, definitely.
yeah.
I just made my new recording, which actually I have a CD release party on Friday, but it's called Social Anthems. Here's the cover right here.
Cool.
And yeah, so these songs, there are songs. I'm not alone in this. I see a lot of people reaching back to the 70s 80s, getting songs from back then, and because they're pertinent now, and they were such great songs, and that was almost like, if you kind of look at history, there have been always these roles in history, comes up, same stuff comes up, and it's just colored in a different way, and maybe we're progressing as humankind a little bit more, but it's taking a long time, but it's a process, and yeah, I just hope we get where we're going, or get there. I hope it's exponential, the
Yeah.
the growth of what we do.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that
that,
song, I mean, that song it's timeless, right?
yeah, we wrote it, like I said, during the Rodney King riots, and
Yeah.
it was actually an up tempo tune,
Yeah.
and she, what did we do it for? AFTRA? Might have been like there was something at the Bluebird Cafe here that we did, and she turned around to me and she said, "I want to do Why Can't We Live Together, but let's do it like a 12/8." We never rehearsed it.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, oh, okay, and we just started it, and the whole audience just went bonkers over it, and it ended up on. It was CSAC. That's what it was. It was
Uh-huh.
CSAC. Um, and it was their people or their performers or something doing something at the Bluebird, and it went on one of their albums. So
Yeah.
they liked it so well. So anyway,
How fast was it? Just curious.
um,
Okay. Yeah.
and it was a duet.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool. That would
with
be
another
that would
really
be
really.
fun too, but I think slower, the 12/8
Oh,
thing.
the meaning is there for it being
Yeah.
slow,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we've written quite a lot of stuff. So
She's really she's so
awesome.
yeah, she's so gifted, and
Yeah, she is.
yeah, I mean, obviously has lived with herself for a long time, and
Yeah,
like embraced it.
yeah. She and a fabulous teacher.
Oh yeah.
Fabulous. Just really, really great. And we've had her teach at the jazz workshop several times. And I'm hoping to get her back again. I know she's taken a break from just not dealing with Berkeley,
Oh yeah.
for a little while. You have to just like get that out of your,
Out of your system.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I know Cindy Scott works there now too at Berkeley. Do you know Cindy?
I don't know Cindy, but I think Jan Shapiro was
Yeah,
like
she was there for a long
really important for, I think she really kind of got Donna there. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, Cindy, you ought to check out Cindy. You would love Cindy. Cindy
okay.
Scott, she lived in New Orleans. I can't remember. I don't think she was exactly from New Orleans. She and this guitar player Brian Seeger worked together a lot, and then she I think she's still teaching at Berkeley now, but wonderful singer and writer, just great, kind of
Cool.
soulful jazz and soulful, just really good. You'd
Yeah,
really like her probably a lot.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Um, yeah, but gosh, it's been so long since I taught at a workshop at Berkeley, like years and years and years and years and years and years, when I was really traveling around doing a lot of workshops. But that was a while ago. When I met my second husband, I didn't really want to travel that much. Imagine that.
I don't want to be traveling. I did a little bit of it, and I was like, no, I don't really want to do that.
Well, I hate I love being there, but the getting to there is just
The
can be
pain.
so exhausting. Yeah.
I know.
I
I don't know
I go
how
to
people do it.
Yeah, well, they gotta like the whole thing. I love Japan. I've been there many, many times, and right at the beginning of COVID, I was going to go there for 3 weeks, and I just kind of, as COVID was kind of kind of on the up ramp, I just thought, should I go to Japan? And then as time was moving a little closer to the time, I just thought, I can't. It's just too
Good thing you
weird.
didn't.
Yeah, it was
Really
actually.
good thing.
But interestingly enough, so I was going to Hiroshima and Osaka and Tokyo. So my friends in Hiroshima and Osaka were saying, "Oh, come, don't worry about it. It's fine. We're all fine, And in Osaka, she was saying, "I think the Japanese people are just gonna, bounce back here." And then in Tokyo, my friend said, "Do not come." And I was like, yeah, maybe I don't think I'm coming. So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
but I hope we can travel again at some point. In fact, I was talking to my friend in Hiroshima, and he said, well, maybe you can come in the spring. And I said, I'm just thinking it's probably not going to happen in the spring. Maybe in a year, they'll be okay for traveling to Japan and stuff. So I don't know.
Some people are already doing it. There's tours already over there and doing it, but it still doesn't mean it's like it's your comfort level too.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah. Well,
I
also
wouldn't.
when I go to, especially Osaka and Tokyo, I do a lot of teaching, and that's in small spaces, and nobody's probably even going to sign up for
No,
a
they're
class
not.
like that, even if
I
I
mean,
was okay with it, which I'm not
it's
particularly okay with that either. Tiny, tiny little spaces.
that's a reason why we're only doing like one class a night in
Yeah,
our big room because
yeah.
then we can spread out.
Hey, let me ask you about, so your new space, are, do you like the new space?
Love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
It's not as big as the other place. We're short about 400 square feet, but um, we didn't gain anything, but a bigger room. Actually, our performance venue is great. It's
Oh,
so much better than where we were. The ceilings are higher. We have great lighting, multimedia now.
oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, it's really, really, really nice in there. But we can only have, we've limited the amount of people to come in.
Yeah.
Um, and even at that, we're still not, really, people are just making decisions to not go out. We just had
Oh,
Champion Fulton. Do you know who?
it sounds
New
familiar.
York piano player. God, you
Uh-huh.
ought to look her up.
Oh, I'll write it
She
down.
would be a good one for you to interview because she's a great piano player and singer.
Oh,
Um, she was a student of Clark Terry, a really good lifelong friend.
did you say Champion
Fulton.
Fulton? Okay.
Uh-huh. And then next weekend we have Jeff Hamilton here.
Oh God, he's so cool.
I know. I
Wow.
know.
Oh boy, you must love watching him play.
Well, here's another good story. So Jeff is from Richmond, Indiana,
Oh,
and so when he would grow up and was when he was growing up, he would come to our music store, and that's where he took his drum lessons.
oh man.
So my brother, who's a drummer in
Wow.
Vegas, Jeff Hamilton, and me, we're all the same drum teacher. And
Wow.
Jeff was the first one out. Roger went to school with Jeff at IU for a little while. And then he played a lot of gigs with Jeff out in LA.
Uh-huh.
But I have known Jeff Hamilton since I have been 5 years old.
Wow.
He used to play Barbies with me.
Oh, I'm gonna tell him that next time I see
No,
him.
he knows it. Like we talk about it all the time. But especially with my parents, like um, he's always seen my dad at the NAMM shows and stuff like that, and so yeah, he's kind of part of the family. On a lot
Wow,
of
that's
ways.
cool.
So we've known him 50 years. I've known him 50 years.
Wow, well that explains to me why he's so nice. He's always present, whenever I don't see him a lot, but when I see him, he's always present, and and very open and giving. So that explains part of why, because of where he's
Yeah,
from.
he's coming in. He's coming in next Thursday, and then doing it's the Akiko, Hamilton Dector, Graham Dector, that trio, the organ trio. So they're
Oh,
doing.
yeah, wait, Akiko, is that the Japanese player who used the Clayton Hamilton Big Band
I think
for
so.
like a recording or something?
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw them in New York actually together.
yeah, they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
They've already played at our other place a few years back, and then
Who did you say the third person was?
Graham Dector.
Oh, Graham Dector. Oh, nice.
Mhm.
He's really swinging player,
Oh
isn't he?
man, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Jeff has been so sweet with us with our Jazzmania, which is our big fundraiser every year that we do, and
Oh,
he did something for us last year, and he did something for this year too. And we got Tierney Sutton; she did something for us this year,
cool.
and so just people
Is this
that.
like online? You're
Mhm,
doing
yeah,
Tasmania? Yeah.
yeah. Interesting enough, last year when we went online, we were so scared to do it because it was such a big party, and we had 400 people come to
Wow.
this party, and so we just reached out to people, and they said yes, and to help us, and it really, we had, instead of 400 people, we had 4,000 people watch. So like, I'm thinking, do we ever want to do a live event again? Honestly, because that was so cool. It was great,
Wow.
So, um, so we're doing it again this year, and
Wow. 4,000. Did you make a lot of money?
we did really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we the thing that we did not have was the auctions, and we usually did a silent auction and a live auction.
Yeah.
And so that was missing a certain amount, a percentage of what we usually
Yeah.
did. But
That's
I'm
another
tired.
level of
Oh, I don't ever want to do that
dealing.
again.
Yeah, that I can just, my head kind of hurts when I think when I think about creating that part of it.
Well, we did it for 19 years, and until last year, I was doing, like, there was a lot of that I did,
Yeah.
asking restaurants and
Yeah.
people for things. I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like a thing of the
so
past.
much.
Silent auctions
Yeah.
just are,
I know.
they're
I
too
know.
hard.
Yeah, they do raise
So
some money, but it seems like almost not worth the work
no, it
effort.
is. It's a pain.
Yeah.
It's a big pain. So we're on track. And the weird part was that the company that did it for us, the producer of the show, we encouraged him to submit this for a Tilly Award, and we won. We won the gold medal for a Telly Award for the best video. I don't know if it was like a fundraiser or something. They had different groups, and we won. It was like,
Wow.
holy crap. So
That's
that
a
was
great
pretty.
example of just doing what you do and doing it great, and then the
Yeah,
reward.
yeah,
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah.
So it all turned out just fine.
That's great. Speaking of that, I'm curious, what would you say to a student who is having trouble kind of being themselves in playing or singing?
Hmm. Well, it depends on what they're doing. I mean, I tend to, with vocalists, I make them write the story.
Mm-hmm.
You probably do that same thing, you know. Write journal on that song. What's your story with that? And then it becomes a little bit more real for them.
Uh-huh.
With instrumentalists, that's a hard thing because sometimes, for me, they don't know their style quite yet.
Yeah. That's That's really what I'm asking. So
Yeah,
if they
it's
do
like
know their style, how do you direct them into that?
to listen more, to transcribe, to listen to all the different players or all the different singers, and you get a little, you transcribe each one of those guys, and then it'll all start to smush up, and it becomes your style. I mean, I know that's what happened with me.
Yeah,
It's just I
yeah.
listened to all these piano players, and then I remember one day, it was after my first album came out, and I heard it on the radio, and I went, "Okay, I think that's me." But you just all of a sudden know, okay, that's your style. I have a certain style when I play. So
Yeah. Did you know that Berkeley has a the Effortless Mastery Institute?
yep,
Isn't that amazing?
yes, I love that.
I
And
can't believe that. It's been like
we do
6
some
years.
classes like that too.
Wow, I was so knocked out when I heard that.
Yeah,
You know, imagine
Kenny and
having that. Wow.
Victor Wooten, who lives here, has written several
Yes.
books, Spirit of
Yes.
Music and
Yeah, the other one,
yeah, Music Lesson.
Music Lesson, right.
Yeah,
That was a great book.
yeah.
Do you know, are you familiar with Free Play as well?
Hmm.
Stephen Nachmanovich, he's a friend of mine, and actually he and a group of people, we meet every week on Zoom. It's great. He's a real special individual. So Free Play was also like in there with Effortless Mastery and the music
Yeah,
lesson.
yeah.
Yeah, just
I
a
remember
great book.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah. I think improvisation is one of the best teaching tools ever for just for life. You know, if people understand that they're improvising every day as soon as they wake up, you know, and as Kenny Werner said, instead of putting your finger on the piano and going you put your finger on the piano and you go, oh, I wonder where that can go.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
just such a great life lesson.
Right. That's cool.
Do you in your classes, do you teach scatting?
Hmm. Oh yeah. Yep. We do a lot of that. From and we've even got a vocalese class.
Oh,
Getting
cool.
ready to teach a singing a singing course on just Thelonious Monk tunes.
That's great. Are you hip to Meredith D'Ambrosio?
Hmm.
And her, as a matter of fact,
What's
she just
that book
sent
she
me,
has?
yeah, she just sent me the paraphrase.
I don't know that. I don't know
Well,
that one.
this is her, speaking of vocalises, so she took solos and wrote lyrics.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, and she's a great writer.
Okay.
She just, I mean,
Is she
you know,
published yet?
yeah, this is second floor music.
Okay, I'll look for it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really amazing. I've heard people take these, like Judy Wexler's a singer who recorded one of these songs. And yeah, just she's really good. She's such a great artist. I mean, all around. Um, she's 80 years old.
Is she really?
Yeah. And not only is she an amazing, beautiful jazz singer, but she's an incredibly accomplished fine artist as well. Her paintings are just beautiful, absolutely
Wow.
beautiful. And then she does that too. I mean, she's so cute. She's got the sweetest personality too. She's really a doll. But yeah, the paraphrase book, it's really interesting that you might use that in your vocalese class.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's good
Yeah,
to know.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole scat omni book now
Oh,
that's out there that's great. It's got a
cool.
whole bunch of solos, transcribed solos in it. Um, that I just got, and it's really cool.
That's great. You know, when I teach scat, I like to teach, I really like to teach beginning scat classes
Hmm.
because usually people show up and they have some idea in their mind that it's way impossible and that they are less than good as a person because
Right, right.
they whatever, they don't know how to read music or blah blah blah. And I just really like to, say, I always say, I guarantee you will be scatting when you leave. And that it's, I start them so basic and I say, well, sing a few notes in this chord, and they do, and I say, welcome to Scat 101. You just scatted, and it's really fun. I love getting results from people
I do
who don't
too.
think they can do it.
Oh, I know. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really fun. So we're coming to the end. I want to thank you so much for giving 2 hours of, I'm sure, your precious time.
Thank you.
Maybe it's given you a little break.
Exactly, right?
And so I'm going to send people to your site, and anything else that you would like to say, promote, or anything like that?
No matter where you are, there's a place at the Nashville Jazz Workshop. Whether you're a shower singer or a listener, there's always a place for you. And I'm always a big believer in leave your egos at the door and let's just have some fun. And I love on everybody. And that's what we do.
That's great.
So.
Well, I'm going to be checking your site out and some of your workshops. I want to listen in, definitely.
Yeah.
Please say hi to Roger for me.
I sure will.
Yeah, I hope all goes beautifully. I hope COVID, kind of slowly dies away, and and that we all, lift higher,
Right. Well, thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much. And you can actually leave, and then because you don't have to be kind of bored with me talking about what's happening in the next week or two.
Okay.
Thanks, Laurie.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Laurie Meacham, ladies and gentlemen, the Nashville Jazz Workshop. She and her husband, Roger Spencer, created that. Oh, thanks, Dan. I didn't see that. Cool. Well, I'll have to go look at Champion Fulton. Oh, it's Sam first. Oh, okay. So this week, Thursday through Sunday, I'll be posting from my archives. Thursday, a DC singer, Lisa Rich, who started out her career really strongly, and then her body kind of broke down, and she didn't sing for a long time, and now she's singing again, and she has an interesting story. Friday, Tony Jones, who's an LA-based drummer and singer, very cool, has a lot of interesting projects that go on. Saturday, a pianist who used to live here, Jeff Franzel, and then he moved to New York quite a while ago, and he became a songwriter, and a successful songwriter who deals with people all over the world. And Sunday, a very interesting man who's 92, David Amram, and he's based in New York. And there's so much to say about him. I'll try and be brief, but let's see. He was the French horn player on all the old bebop records. He was the resident classical composer for the New York Philharmonic for a number of years. He plays Americana, he plays piano and sings and writes, and he also plays, I can't remember, it's an unusual instrument, like a small flute or something. I can't quite remember. And then next week, for the live people, we're going to have Joanne Klein on Monday, who's a Seattle-based actress and singer. she's a great personality. Tuesday, we're going to have the world-renowned Billy Childs, pianist, composer, arranger, conductor. He's great, and I always think of him as a young man because he's been in my life for a long, long time, and he played with my brother-in-law, who was a drummer for a long time. He played with Diane Reeves. They had this trio that was very young in Los Angeles, and it was great. So I've known him for a long time. And then Wednesday, I'm having my first guest, who I had on almost 2 years ago, Sinna E, who is a wonderful, wonderful Danish jazz singer. I'm very in awe of her. She's really great singer and a lovely person. So when you want to see who else is on, you can go to my website, cathysegalgarcia.com. And for those of you living in LA, on Friday night, I will be having a CD release party for my new CD, Social Anthems, Volume 1. So you can also find that information on my website. It will not be streamed, but we are making a video which will stream later. So goodbye, everybody. Have a great Wednesday, and see you later. Bye.